This is my own point, economics. This is what I know how to teach. So we continue with the macroeconomy, which is simply talking about the economy as a whole. And when you measure an economy, you can only measure an economy based on its output. And if your output is increasing, it means your GDP is increasing. But how do we know that as output is increasing, it reflects in the life of people? And that is why we have to talk about GDP per capita or per head, or income per head. So GDP per head is about how much more individuals are getting better based on the fact that the output of that country is increasing. That is GDP per head or GDP per capita. So it doesn't end there, because you wouldn't know how much more you earn or how much more you have become better or you have improved without comparing your economy with other economies. And that is why we have to compare. And that takes us to comparison of GDP per head between countries. So it's about countries. So we're comparing our country with other countries, because that is the only way we can measure our improvement. I used to say, in Africa they used to say that when you are in your father's farm, you think it's the biggest. Not until you find other people's farm that you're like, oh, my dad's farm is still this smallest, so this is bigger than my dad's farm. Yeah. So for comparison, we need other variables, we need other things to compare with. In different perspectives. So this takes us to comparison of GDP per head between countries. The GDP per head represents the average income. So it represents the average income. It is not the overall income, but average, which means it's in between. And that is even the problem there. Because if it's in between, it represents average. It does not reflect on inequality, because it's just average, it's an estimate. It could be more, it could be less. It's in between. Do we get it? So, how do we measure real GDP per head? It is total real GDP divided by population. Your total real GDP is GDP that has been adjusted for inflation, divided by the number of the people living in that country. Do we get real GDP here? So, real GDP per head is total real GDP divided by the population. Real GDP is GDP that has been adjusted for inflation, and the population still remains the same. The number of people living in the country for over a specific period of time. Do we get it? Yes. Any question up to now? No. So, what are the methods in which we can use to compare the real GDP per head of countries? We can use the nominal GDP and the PPP adjusted. So we're going to start with the first one, the nominal GDP per head. The nominal GDP it uses the current exchange rate. What's an exchange rate? The price. Okay, yes.
The exchange rate is the price of currencies, basically. Because you want to buy dollars, maybe dinars, it's a price.
Yeah. So thank you. Exchange rate is the price of a country's currency in respect to other countries' currency. So the price of the dollar compared to the dinars is the exchange rate. Do you get that? So the nominal GDP per head, it uses current exchange rate, that's the present exchange rate right now, and price is used for measuring current purchasing power on global markets. So if we want to compare country A and country B, we can use the nominal GDP per head, which talks about measure without adjustment, measuring the price of the dollar right now with the prices of goods and services here in Libya, with the price of dollar in Nigeria based on the price of goods and services in Nigeria. Yeah. Do you get it here? So nominal GDP is talking about the current price. But the problem about using nominal GDP is that it fluctuates. Yeah. There's speculation. There's the demand for and supply of. So there's always going to be changes in the price of goods and changes in the exchange rate. So that's the problem about using nominal GDP. Do you get it or not, please? So for nominal GDP per head, it's talking about the current price of goods and services and the current exchange rate within the country. That is nominal. Do you get nominal here? Yeah. And the only problem we have with nominal, yes?
Some countries use a pegged exchange rate instead of a floating one, which means that the price is stable. So in those types of economies, it's not really much affected by the current fluctuation.
That is for fixed exchange rates.
Yeah, fixed or pegged.
Yeah. So that is from the central bank of the country. The central bank does that, so there's not going to be fluctuation. So the price mechanism is not going to affect it. The demand for and the supply of it is not going to affect it. It is fixed. But in this case, we're talking about the demand for and supply of. There's fluctuation.
Yeah, the floating market.
So for fluctuation, it simply means there are market variables, market conditions that will make it to increase or decrease.
Yes.
Is it clear? Now we move on. Then we have the purchasing power adjusted per capita. Purchasing power adjusted per capita, it uses the PPP to adjust for the cost of living differences between countries. So if we really need an accurate GDP, an accurate figure in terms of comparing the living standards of one country to another, we need to adjust it with PPP. And what is PPP? The purchasing power parity, which simply means we need to find the current exchange rate based on the price of goods and services in this country compared to other countries. So we need to find a common currency to use. So if you have to compare Nigeria and Libya, we have to compare it in a currency that we can use for both, a currency that is unique. Oh, the dollar. So what will $1 buy in terms of goods in Libya, and what will $1 buy in terms of goods in Nigeria? Because if you have to compare Libya and Nigeria, you cannot use naira and dinars. They are different currencies and they have different value. So we need to use a common currency, which is probably the dollar. So using the dollar to compare the price of goods and services, to know the cost of living, to know the improvement of or the standard of living in the country, we use purchasing power parity. Do you understand purchasing power parity here? So here for purchasing power parity, it is a way of comparing international living standards using an exchange rate based on the amount of each currency needed to purchase the same basket of goods or services. So the basket of goods is $1. So how much of your currency, how much of the dinars will make the $1? How much of the naira will make the $1 when you want to use it to buy goods and services? And that we can use to compare the living standards of countries. Do you get the point I'm making now? It is a way of comparing international living standards by using an exchange rate based on the amount of each currency needed to purchase the same basket of goods. So if we have to purchase the same basket of goods, we need the same currency. So we have two countries here, Nigeria and Libya, and we need a common currency, which is the dollar. So how much, if this is $1, how many nairas do we need to buy this in dollar? How many dinars do we need to buy this in dollar? And that's what purchasing power parity is when we're comparing countries. Do we understand? Any questions about that? So what is PPP itself? PPP is what? I explained it already. It's about you comparing one country to another, and to get an accurate figure, we just have to use PPP. Because it will tell us the quantity and the quality. So for the quality and the quantity, we're going to have the same thing here in Nigeria, here in Libya, and there in Nigeria. For the same pen in dollar, how much is it? For the same pen in naira, how much is it? For the same pen in dinars, how much is it? Do we get it? Now we go to the limitations. For the limitations, what are the problems about using GDP per head? The first one, GDP per capita is an average and it doesn't reflect income inequality. So the problem is about income inequality. There are some people that are wealthy, there are some people that are average, there are some people that are low income earners. So which simply means when you use GDP per head, it does not reflect income inequality, the gap between the rich and the poor. Because it depends on the amount of income the country has, not the amount of money individual has. It's about the total amount of money we earn. You could earn 50, I could earn 5, you could earn 30, she could earn 70. But we are looking for the average, which does not reflect the gap between us.
The extreme data.
Do you get it? It does not reflect. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about here?
Yeah.
We're talking about the problems using GDP per head. When you use GDP per head, it does not reflect the gap between the rich and the poor. Because it's only talking about the amount of money available. But how much more have you contributed? It does not say that. Because some people are very rich, some people are very poor, some people are average, some people are in the middle. So it does not reflect that. It only talks about the whole population, but does not reflect on how much individuals have contributed in terms of the income. because it's average. Do we get it, please? The second one, it doesn't reflect the quality of life improvement or cost of living improvement without using PPP adjustment. So, it does not reflect how much more our life has improved over time. It's GDP per head, yes, but how much more has our life improved? Money is increasing. Does that reflect the quality of life we live? Has education improved? Has healthcare improved? We don't know. It doesn't say it until it is adjusted, yes?
Or maybe the GDP has only improved because inflation has gotten higher.
Yeah, so that's the point here. So it might have improved because the rich are becoming richer, while the poor are becoming poorer. Do you get the point here? So the point about this is that it does not reflect the improvement in education, the improvement in healthcare without adjustments. But with PPP adjustment, it simply shows us that we're using purchasing power parity. So we're going to use $1 to know the price of $1, what $1 will buy here, what $1 will buy there. So without that, GDP per head is not the right or accurate metric to use when you're comparing the living standards of country with another, one country with another. Do we get it or not? It does not reflect the quality of life improvement. Our life might have improved in terms of education and healthcare. We don't know. Because these are figures, these are numbers, they are quantity, but how much has it reflected, we don't know. Until we use purchasing power parity. So using GDP per head does not really reflect our life improvement, does not really reflect the living standards we have. Because they are just figures that talking about average, they are figures that does not give us the real value of what we have or who we are in terms of what has improved over our lives. Oh, the country is improving. Are the people improving with the same rate as the country is improving? We need to know that. So there are figures and their quantities and their quality. Are they at the same rate or not? We don't know if we use GDP per head. Because certain amount of money might be with some group of people, and some people do not have nothing at all. Put your head up, please. Any question about GDP per head? Is it clear? Thank you.